Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Aurindam Bhattacharya. I'm a group leader and I'm coordinating the activities for machine-to-machine communication project in C-DoT. So my agenda is brief introduction of C-DoT. I would skip rather because our EDR has already presented and given an overview of what all we are doing. So M2M is our new initiative and we are going big way into it. As we understand that this is going to be the game changer in the whole world, not only in India and specifically in India. So, I'll talk about M2M a little bit, though all of you are knowledgeable enough to understand and know what M2M is all about, and then what we are offering, our offering. So this I'm skipping. This slide I'm a little fond of because as you see we have kept M2M in the strategic domain. Right. As you see, I have mentioned that it touches all the sectors. All the sectors means it touches rural, it touches urban, it touches semi-urban, and it also touches security and all other aspects, right? And governance as well. And as far as C-DoT is concerned, whatever research we have been doing over the years, it basically encompasses all. So I wouldn't say it's the mother of all projects, but definitely this project is going to involve all that we have already have experience of. Now about M2M. Now when we say machine-to-machine communication, very simple definition that you can see is it's a form of data transfer that let machines communicate directly with one another with little or no human intervention. Now machine-to-machine communication and IoT are more or less synonymously used, right? Though the standard definitions that are available from Gartner and from other bodies, they say that in machine-to-machine communication, the source is predominantly or almost certainly a machine. So without any human intervention, so what that means? That the source or the generator of the information is a machine. So less or no interactive input. Whereas at the recipient side, it can be machine, but it can be human as well. So the consumer of this machine-to-machine communication can be a human at the other end. Whereas in IoT, right, the definition as available today, it's machine-to-machine, it can be human-to-machine or machine-to-human, all are allowed at this point in time. Other than that, I couldn't find any difference. As far as devices are concerned, as far as how that information is analyzed at the back end, at the head-end system, I see no difference. So for me, I will use M2M and IoT as synonyms. Now, machine-to-machine communication has emerged as a cutting-edge technology for the next generation communication. I don't think anybody would disagree to this. And neither would anybody disagree that it is considered as the most promising solution for revolutionizing the future intelligent, pervasive application. It's going to be all pervasive. It's an understatement, so to say. It can be used in various applications such as home automation, telemetry. These are just a few. You name it and there will be some application or some involvement of M2M in every walk of life. So I'll touch upon that in my next slide. So here you see, not limited to just 9, but I have just used 9 such cases. Vending machines. So all vending machines, what is needed? What is getting emptied over there? What needs to be replenished? All that information will automatically go to the provider. So tomorrow, the marketing or the brand positioning would be based on such vending machines. Or even at your home, the refrigerator, how you consume your consumption pattern can tomorrow be known by the suppliers. So they can, at the back end of their complete ecosystem, can define, or they can then design as to how supply chain would be designed, or supply chain can be catered to meet such demands. So this is a new age marketing scenario and marketing strategy that is going to change the way all business communities are doing business, particularly the fast moving consumer good or the FMCG companies. Think about it. It will be very, very interesting. Then the ATMs, so point of sales, they are also these innovative inputs and the analytics at the back end will bring about a change in the total social and economic ecosystem that is going to be there tomorrow. Fleet tracking, you already know, we have been using fleet tracking for quite some time. Emergency call navigation, public transport. Nowadays you see not only public transport, your cars, they are getting intelligent car-to-car communication, intelligent fleet management, intelligent traffic management. All these buzzwords are flying around and you see them quite often. Then industrial telemetry, they have been in use for quite some time. Now it is going to experience a change in how they are done. Smart metering for electricity, this had been kind of the front runner in India as far as M2M is concerned, because this had been bugging them for quite many times. Not only the advanced meter reading or automated meter reading, so to say, but how that metering can change the way you consume energy, you consume electricity. So those aspects are also coming into the smart meters. Now smart metering for gas, all the utilities, whether it is gas, whether it is energy, or any other parameter that you consume as a utility provided entity. So that is going to be monitored, measured, analyzed, and then given to you as you need it. As you see, there are going to be more devices than humans. So what it means tomorrow, it does not necessarily mean that one person should be considered as the a single entity whom you need to address. So trillions and trillions of devices would be there. So addressability is going to be a major concern, and so would be the data. Are today's network designed to handle this kind of a data? Are the data patterns same as what is being consumed by the end users today? Might not. We'll see to it. So what M2M means to us? As you see, from left to right, it starts from, this I have taken for a urban or a semi-urban person. Starts from your home or bed, ends at your home and bed. In between, right from the morning, an alarm clock, which has remote programs, to the coffee maker, to the electric toothbrush, and when you come back in between, when you are in the workplace, your VoIP phone or HVAC or your computer or the vending machine which is there in your office. And after that, while you are commuting, your media player, and then the microwave, television, and once you are back home. So you wake up and you go to bed. Everywhere in your whole day, the devices are getting smarter and they are going to dictate. So are we going to let them dictate, or we shouldn't be the slave of the machines, or the machine should be made the slave of ours? So we have to think that how we are going to position all these so that they give us a better life. Now the stakeholders of M2M, if you traditionally think, these are the 5 stakeholders as we can think of. At the center is the platform provider, service provider, ICT manufacturer, content provider, and as you see, telco operator has been specifically marked. Nowadays, if you think about a M2M application, so more often than not, it is the telecom service provider who is providing you the M2M service. Should it be that way only? Can't there be any other way to do it? Can't there be a different ecosystem of entrepreneurship where new M2M service providers might grow? It should be a altogether different system wherein you come up as a M2M service provider. At that point in time, you should be at the liberty of choosing who the telecom service provider can be. If one telecom service provider is not providing you good service, you should be able to choose between the telecom service provider. The same applies to the device manufacturers. Today, I am taking devices from one party. Tomorrow, if I get cheaper or better quality devices from other manufacturer, I should be able to do that. Does it happen that way today? So you must have seen this slide in our earlier presentation. So in the front today you are seeing only the M2M service provider whom you are taking. Let me take an example. Say today fleet management by a supplier, any supplier, you can choose any supplier who manages maybe hundreds of trucks through which goods are transported from one location to other. If he chooses to have a M2M service, who is providing the M2M service? Maybe some service provider. In all probability, it is a TSP who is providing the M2M service. So what is provided? All the trucks are fitted with a GPS or a GPRS kind of a device, a SIM, and the telecom network is used as a transport. At the back end, there is a hidden system, and the application and the telecom service provider, everything is very closely coupled. Can you detach it? Do you have the choice of choosing what devices are you going to put, or do you have the choice of choosing what application service provider is going to provide you? So at the front, you have that M2M service provider in the garb of a telecom service provider sitting in front of you, and you are totally unaware who is behind the wall. Who's providing the platform? You are not in a position to choose. So what are you? Are we actually enabling a environment where entrepreneurs can come up and can act as one of these stakeholders? No. So what we need? Standardization. This is the main drawback which have been there so far. It's fragmented. There are standards available. When you talk about standards, the devices are standard. The personal area network, the personal area network, or so what is called at the device end or the home area network, standards are there. Standards may not be absolutely suitable for the complete end-to-end end-to-end application way, but there are standards available, but they are fragmented. So the M2M industry currently is vertical centric, and the telecom network is merely used as a transport. However, these networks may need to be optimized to cater to these new solutions. Now, standardization is required in order to deliver cost-effective M2M solutions and allow this market to take off. Now, as I already mentioned, the component level standards are already existing, like radio interfaces, different meshed or routed networking choices, but they are not optimized. They are not tuned to give you a complete ecosystem. Now, what is one M2M? When we talk about standards, this is one organization which is actually a partnership, a global partnership of multiple SDOs like AREB, ATIS. These are all standard defining bodies, standard defining organizations who joined hands and then formed an organization. Actually, ETSI had started, European Telecommunication Standards Institute. They started the standardization effort, and whatever they formed as standards, they handed it over to one M2M. Now C-DoT is also a partner type 1 for one M2M. They are, and we are also contributing towards the standards. So the goal is to develop technical specification for an M2M service layer. Now, when we talk about M2M service layer, this is the vertical architecture which is prevailing currently, and this is what is suggested by the standard body. So what is it? You have here the devices which all of them are having a application entity. So all the devices will be connected to some node which is having an application entity, but these application entity and the backend in the previous diagram, as you can see, this application entity is being consumed by the end consumer through a head-end system which only understands this application entity. So there's nothing in between. Over here, the difference is we have a common services entity. So this application entity actually talks through this common services entity. This common services entity can be here. This common services entity can be at the gateway level. So this common service layer is what is bringing about the change in the whole system. So this has to be standard based. So when we say this has to be standard based, what happens? Any app, any network, any device can communicate. So the end consumers would have a choice of devices, networks, and the applications also. So the same one cloud can host multiple applications, and those multiple applications can cater to multiple kind of use cases scenarios or multiple verticals. And thereby, a consumer may choose to go to one provider or may choose to go to another provider. So these are the three elements, as I mentioned. There will be an application entity, a common services entity, and a network services entity. This is how the whole architecture is spread out, wherein on the application service node, that is this node which is there at the front end, there will be these three layers, or there might not be certain layers depending upon the use case scenario. Or the middle node, also called the gateway node, is where the common services entity would reside, and there will be one AE or multiple AE. AE stands for application entity. Now, at the infrastructure node, which might be behind the middle node, see the middle node and infrastructure node, they are used in different application scenarios. In certain places, the middle node might not be required. Only one infrastructure node may be sufficient, where there are volumes which need to be catered to. There, the requirement might be for middle node as well as for infrastructure node. And at the back end will be the application which will actually receive the data, analyze the data, and then can give the consumer what it wants. Now, what these common services entity CSE provides, it provides the functions. Now, what functions are we actually looking forward to? Registration, the device registration. Rogue devices should not come as spurious devices and start generating data. So for you, from the security standpoint, it is important that only those who are authenticated and authorized nodes, they are allowed on the network. So this is a typical use case scenario with using C-DoT M2M solution. Now this I would skip. This was, because of paucity of time, this was actually showcasing how this helps. Now what we are offering is a standard based M2M platform, which is a middle node and an infrastructure node, having the common services entity, providing the common service functions, the 12 functions that I had shown in the previous slide. It would enable the industry to develop standard based applications which would reduce the development, test, and deployment life cycles. So our application certification, you can bring your own application. All you need to do is build your application, which should be standard based, and after the statutory conditions are met, administrative procedures, and you share the technical details like the resource structure, the service subscription parameters, what is required as a bare minimum data. You bring in the device registration and enrollment prerequisite, and we will test it and will give certificate that this application is certified for M2M deployment in a standards way. So this conforms to the standard. So that is what we are going to help. So that's all. I mean, any questions I can take offline or maybe even now, if time permits.